At
Around the world,
55 years
gospel
old,
star Kirk
gospel
Franklin was
icon
known for
Kirk
his strong
Franklin,
music and
known around the
unwavering
world for
faith.
his
He
powerful
passed out
music
in the
and
middle of
unshakable
church when he was
faith,
55 years
collapsed in
old.
the middle of
People in the
church.
church were
Shock
shocked when
rippled
his
through the
daughter,
congregation as
Carrington
his daughter,
Franklin, ran to
Carrington
speak out and
Franklin,
ask friends to pray. What really took place inside those walls? Also, why does his family need so much protection right now? Do not leave now, because what we are about to find will amaze you. And it goes much deeper than anyone thought at first. Kirk Franklin isn't just another church music name. He's the beating heart of a generation. From his #1 hits on the charts to his strong position as a Christian leader, he has a lot of impact outside of church. So when word got out that he had passed out during a service at the age of 55, shockwaves went through the world right away. What happened to Kirk Franklin? Fans all over the world started to wonder, is he in worse health than anyone thought? Also, why did his daughter, Carrington Franklin, have to speak out and ask for prayers? Today's movie goes into a lot of detail about what happened in that church, what Kirk's family said, and what he may have been going through behind the scenes. We'll talk about his history of health scares, the stresses of gospel fame, and the emotional responses from fans and other artists. The most important thing we will do is think about what this means for his future, his mission, and his legacy. Please watch the whole video until the end to understand why the story is not as simple as a falling spell. The most unexpected part, what Kirk Franklin's family hasn't told you yet, could change the way you see him forever. It was meant to be a normal Sunday service like the ones Kirk Franklin has had hundreds of times before. Many people were happy and singing in the church. Only gospel praise can give you that kind of energy. As always, Kirk was in his glory as the choir sang and the crowd clapped. He has never been one to just sit still during service. Kirk Franklin loves prayer. He does well when he is playing the piano, preaching, or telling the crowd to praise more loudly. Today, though, something went wrong. Witnesses remember that Kirk seemed incredibly tired. He was still smiling. His voice was strong. However, he felt heavy, as if his body were fighting against him while his spirit tried to get through. Kurt then fell down at a time that no one could have predicted. The sanctuary was full of gasps. The music stopped. Some people said it felt like time had stopped, and it wasn't a stage show or a planned big move. It felt so real it scared me. People in the crowd ran over to him, and leaders quickly called for medical help. In their despair, people prayed loudly. Some people in the crowd were seen holding their phones while crying, not sure if they should take a picture of the shocking scene or pray. In a matter of minutes, family and church leaders circled him. Carrington, his daughter, looked very upset. She has been by her father's side for years, defending him when he was in trouble and enjoying his wins, but this time was different. She knew right away that this wasn't something that could be ignored or hidden. After that, she went on social media and asked people to pray for her. There wasn't a full medical reason on her post. She did not say a lot about what happened after the building fell down. She instead picked words that showed both her fear and her trust. She spoke out so quickly, which says a lot for a family that has been watched by the public for decades. Not for attention, but because it was important. It's getting even more interesting now because this wasn't the first time Kirk Franklin had shown signs that his health might be in trouble. And when we look back at the last few years of his life, a troubling trend starts to show up. We need to look past that one Sunday morning to understand how grave Kirk Franklin's sud. Kirk Franklin is 55 years old, but his energy on stage makes him look younger, but everyone gets older in the end. Taking care of kids, touring, recording, ministering, teaching young artists, and being a dad and husband all at the same time can wear even the strongest person down. This is on top of the huge stress of being a public person in the gospel world, where perfection is always expected. This helps you see the bigger picture. Over the years, he has said that he has had problems that are much deeper than being physically tired. He has been open about his struggles with depression, insecurity, and the mental scars from having a hard childhood. In front of a stadium full of people, many people only see the polished artist. They don't think about how those inner fights can hurt the body. As it turns out, stress is one of the worst and most quiet causes of health problems like fainting, heart problems, and burnout. Fans also remember that Kirk Franklin has been looking a lot thinner in recent talks, and some people being curious about whether he was working too hard. Even though there was no official medical report that said he had a long-term illness, the rumors got stronger, especially after he said he was making big changes to his life. With all of his music projects, family problems, and the constant demands of being the face of gospel music, he may have been pushing himself way past what his body could handle. Things are getting even worse from here on out. A lot of people who know Kirk, including other church musicians, have said nice things about how hard he works. He never stops moving, won't slow down, and tries to do better in every show, record, and appearance, according to those who know him. It is admirable, but it is also dangerous. As a general rule, doctors warn that too much work and not enough rest can cause fainting spells, heart problems, or even worse. It seems like this moment inside the church has been building up for years when you look back. There were clues, the weight drop and being worn out, the emotional burdens and the constant obligations. But no one thought it would happen so powerfully in front of a whole church. But this still brings up another question. Why did his daughter Carrington feel the need to quickly ask people to pray in public? If this was just a fake spell or a case of dehydration, wouldn't the family have told fans right away? Instead, Carrington's words were important and needed to be said right away. That makes me think that what happened might have been more complex than people think. When we look at Carrington's choice to speak out, we find a deeper story that has to do with more than just Kirk's health. It has to do with the stresses and private issues in the Franklin family as a whole. When Kirk Franklin passed out, it was strange that no one from the government spoke out. Fans often want to hear from publicists, managers, or church leaders right away in these kinds of scenarios. His daughter Carrington Franklin, on the other hand, took the lead. As the first family member to speak out, her words had a lot of weight and set the tone for how people would react to the event. Carrington went online and asked people to pray for him. She didn't try to make it sound less serious or say something nice about it. She didn't share pictures of her dad happy while he was getting better or reassurances that everything was okay. Instead, her advice was short, important, and very emotional. Prayers were needed for her dad. It was such an important matter that she wanted everyone to help her pray for him. Before we read further, this may seem like a normal request from a worried daughter, but there is more to it than meets the eye. Carrington's words suggest that there was a time when things were not clear and the family may not have known what was going on or how bad Kirk's situation really was. That kind of doubt is scary, especially when it comes to even when the Franklin family was going through hard times. A lot of people remember the public fight that Kirk Franklin and his divorced son Carry-On had. A lot of people heard about the tension online in the form of interviews, recordings, and claims, but Carrington mostly stayed out of the mess during that storm. Her silence was a sort of loyalty in and of itself. She didn't want to add to the fire, so she stood next to her dad. Because of that background, her most recent choice is even more important. It shows how important this moment was for Carrington to speak out so freely, since she usually keeps her family's privacy safe. Fans were going to find out soon, but by talking about it directly, she took charge of the story before the rumors got out of hand. She said it wasn't a secret or a piece of gossip, but a call to prayer. But here is the real question. Why do we pray? Why not just say something like, "My dad is fine, he just passed out"? Carrington made the issue seem like more than just medical facts by asking for prayers. She asked everyone to see it as spiritual fighting, a fight for her dad's health and well-being that needed help from God. The words used say a lot about how the family might understand what happened. For people who follow the gospel, prayer is not just a ritual, it is power. For many years, Black churches have relied on prayer during times of trouble, sickness, and uncertainty. That's why Carrington asked people to pray for Kirk. She did this to remember everyone that her famous father is still a man who needs grace, healing, and support, even though he is famous. This was also used for something else. As soon as Carrington asked for prayers, the conversation went from guessing to showing support. She didn't add to gossip blogs with crazy ideas. Instead, she focused the story on faith. Of course, that hasn't stopped people from asking questions. It only made people wonder how bad Kirk Franklin's health really is. Was she just tired, or is there a health problem going on that her family hasn't told anyone about yet? This brings us to an important part of the story. Kirk Franklin has always had a hard time balancing being open with the public and fighting privately. He has told bits and pieces of his battles with addiction, family issues, and his sense of self-worth for decades, but never the whole story. What Carrington said in public after the church fall could be one of those times when private things become public. However, before coming to a conclusion, we need to look at another important piece of the puzzle. Kirk Franklin's past of being in trouble, his ability to bounce back from setbacks, and how his family has always been there for him when things have gone badly. When you think about how many times he has come back from tough times, you might understand that this could be both a warning and a turning point in his reputation. To fully understand how bad Kirk Franklin's fall was, we need to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. This is because Kirk Franklin has never had a story of easy success. His life has been full of stress, controversy, and strength, and the battles he has fought have left both emotional and public scars. A lot of people have called Kirk Franklin the maverick of gospel. From the 1990s on, he changed the way church music could sound. He brought hip-hop beats, modern rhythms, and a real, honest sound to the church world. But with new ideas came criticism. Leaders of traditional churches said he mixed religious and secular things, but fans said he made gospel music more available to younger people. Traditional and modern, acceptance and rejection were always pulling at him. It became a part of his life story. However, the hits going on behind the music were just as fierce. Kirk has never been afraid to say that he has a problem with being addicted to pornography. When he first told the church community about it, there is an important truth that these problems show. Kirk Franklin is a famous gospel singer, but he is also a person who has lived his whole life balancing his faith with his flaws. He always found a way to get back on top, even when he was in trouble with the law, sick, or criticized by the public. But there is a price to pay for rising again. Carrying the weight of constant criticism, tight plans, and family problems can take a toll on your mind and body that most people don't see. Now think about this. Kirk, a man who has dealt with addiction, public shame, family problems, and nonstop service, passes out in church at age 55. It's not just a fainting spell. His body and spirit may be about to break, and this is signaling that. In this way, Carrington's call to prayer feels so scary. She has seen for herself what her dad has been through. He has always been able to get back on his feet, but she has also seen what that has cost him. The fact that she is now asking for prayers shows that this may be one of the worst times her dad has ever been through. Kirk Franklin's story has never just been about pain, though. It's also been about forgiveness, which brings up a strong question. Even though it's scary, could this fall be the turning point that forces him to slow down, heal, and change the way he lives from now on? There are already signs that Kirk Franklin's life and impact are very important to the gospel community, his fans, and other artists, which we'll see next. How they respond could tell us what will happen next for him, and if people will remember this fall as a disaster or the beginning of a new era. As soon as word got out that Kirk Franklin had passed out in church, there was a huge response. Everyone in the church community came together in a way we haven't seen in years. They are known for their close relationships and sense of spiritual family. There were a lot of prayers, Bible quotes, and sad posts on social media timelines. Tags like Stand with Franklin and Pray for Kirk became popular. This shows how deeply this event affected fans and other artists. Soon, famous gospel singers, preachers, and even secular stars joined in. Some people wrote sincere prayers for Kirk, asking God to heal and strengthen him. Others told personal stories about how Kirk had changed their lives, not just through his music, but also by being a mentor and being in the business. A famous gospel singer said that he was the glue that held modern gospel together, a man whose impact is much bigger than most people think. That thought came up over and over again. There is no such thing as an artist like Kirk Franklin. There was a lot of support, but there was also many rumors. Fans started to ask tough questions. Was this fall due to being too tired? Was there an illness going on that wasn't talked about? The family was also being very unclear in what they said. Some people said that Kirk's weight changes over the past few years were clear, adding others to his never-ending list of public appearances and acts. Online, rumors spread about everything from heart problems to burnout caused by worry. All of these claims were not proven, but that only made people more interested. The fact that Kirk didn't say anything added to the rumors. He usually doesn't wait long to talk to his fans directly, whether it's in an interview, a social media post, or an unplanned live show. There was nothing this time, though. There is no movie, no smile to comfort. There were no straight words from the man. The quiet got so loud it was hurtful. People who don't say anything about famous news often make people wonder what's going on. Still, one thing could not be argued with. The huge amount of support showed how much people love Kirk Franklin. Thousands of his fans told stories about how his songs helped them get through the worst times. Some songs like Stomp, Imagine Me, and I Smile were more